Adam. I mentioned his name yesterday on the phone to Tracy, and instantly starts bawling. I asked her why.
Rick Harrison lost everything from the very beginning. Rick was the sharp-minded dealmaker millions trusted and admired. For years, audiences watched him build a family legacy on camera. But behind the glitz and glamour, Rick faced tragic pain no appraisal could ever measure. Away from the success lies a series of devastating losses that forever changed the man viewers thought they knew. What exactly happened to Rick? And how does someone who preserves the past survive when his own world begins to fall apart? Join us as we delve into the untold story of Rick Harrison's heartbreaking tragedies. Losing the first pillar. The gold and silver pawn shop is famous at a global scale, but it wasn't an overnight success. Richard and his son Rick built it through decades of hard work, 12-hour days, and the kind of business acumen that only comes from experience. Richard became known for his tough negotiating style, his refusal to pay a penny more than an item was worth, and his sometimes cranky demeanor that viewers would come to love when Pawn Stars debuted in July 2009. The show, which featured Richard, Rick, grandson Corey, and family friend Austin Chumley Russell, became an instant phenomenon. Pawn Stars quickly became History Channel's highest-rated show and the #2 reality show on television. Richard's signature black suit, fedora, and no-nonsense approach to business made him a fan favorite. His relationship with Rick became one of the show's most compelling dynamics. Despite the success of the show, Rick has experienced more pain in his personal life than what the media could capture. The tragic events that Rick faced didn't start recently. They go way back to his childhood, right from when his sister Sherry was born with Down syndrome. Their father had to stay in the Navy to ensure Sherry's medical needs were covered. Sadly, even with all the effort, the girl still passed away when she was just 6 years old. This loss deeply affected their father, and it was evident in his statement that Sherry was the light of his life for the short time they had her. Young Rick was only a year old when his sister passed, so he never really had the chance to know her well. But it's a given that if he had, losing her might have been too much for him to bear. By the time Rick was 2, his father was transferred to San Diego, California, and the family moved in with him. Rick's own health crisis began soon after he turned 8. He immediately became the focus of his parents' attention when he started having epileptic seizures. He often had to stay in bed for long periods, and it was during this time that he developed a fondness for reading. Young Rick enjoyed adventure stories and had a keen interest in physics and history, especially the Royal Navy of the late 1700s and early 1800s. When he wasn't too affected by the epilepsy seizures, he attended Taft Middle School in San Diego. It was said that the young boy was naturally curious and had a strong business sense. He even dropped out of high school to focus on making money by selling fake Gucci bags, earning up to $22,000 a week. That's some business. Rick Harrison was in his late teens by the time his father founded the ship that sold gold and silver coins. At that point, things were pretty steady for the family, and Rick had a girlfriend, but that was the beginning of a streak of heartbreaks that would last well into his 60s. A life-changing incident happened between him and his girlfriend Kim, as she unexpectedly became pregnant. They accepted the pregnancy and were waiting for the baby when another tragedy struck. The pregnancy ended in a terrible miscarriage. It was a very heavy blow to Rick, losing his first child like that, and Kim felt the same loss. But there was a silver lining to it, as that shared grief brought them closer, and they decided to tie the knot. Less than 2 years into their marriage, the couple welcomed their first child, Corey, in 1983. Their second son, Adam, followed soon after, but after Adam's birth, another heartbreaking event followed. Rick and Kim's relationship came to an abrupt end. Abrupt, because the reasons behind their split remain unclear even until now. The separation left Rick struggling for a while, but things changed when he met Tracy. The two met on a blind double date only 9 months after his sudden split from Kim. They dated for half a year and soon moved in together. 8 months after their cohabiting, they married and took on the responsibility of raising both Corey and Adam. Meanwhile, during this time, Rick was working at the pawn shop, and Pawn Stars was already on air. By 23, he had become a partner in his father's business. But something was going on behind the scenes that only few knew. It turned out Rick's father, Richard, was fighting a battle that would ultimately cost the entire family. What was old Richard fighting, and how did it end for him? Watching his hero deteriorate. For Rick, working alongside his father on national television represented the culmination of years of building the business together. The gold and silver pawn shop's website called Richard Harrison the unquestioned patriarch of the family business, and that authority extended beyond just business decisions. Richard was the moral center of the show, the voice of reason when deals got complicated, and the family elder whose wisdom guided everyone around him. But he came down with a terrible disease. Researchers have agreed that Parkinson's disease is a cruel affliction that steals a person piece by piece. This is what the old man was dealing with. Old Richard Harrison retired from Pawn Stars in 2017, stepping away from the show that had made him famous as the disease progressed and made it increasingly difficult for him to participate in filming. Watching his father lose his physical abilities must have been agonizing for Rick. Parkinson's affects movement, causing tremors, rigidity, and eventually robbing people of their ability to perform basic tasks. Old Richard Harrison, who had spent his life working with his hands and building a business through physical labor and mental sharpness, found himself betrayed by his own body. On June 25, 2018, Richard Benjamin Harrison passed from Parkinson's disease at age 77, surrounded by those he loved. He was survived by his wife Joanne, his 3 sons, Joseph, Rick, and Chris, as well as 10 grandchildren and 5 great-grandchildren. Richard had intentionally placed Rick in charge of his estate, trusting his middle son with the family's financial legacy. Family, friends, and fans paid their last respects to Richard Harrison on July 1st at Palm Northwest Mortuary in Las Vegas. The funeral included both a public viewing and a private service for family and close friends, recognizing the fact that Richard had become a public figure, whose death affected millions of viewers who had welcomed him into their homes for nearly a decade. But then there's Rick. Burying his father meant losing not just a parent, but also losing the man who had taught him everything about both the pawn business and life itself. The grief was overwhelming, but Rick had no way of knowing that an even more devastating tragedy was waiting just a few years ahead. This time, it was his mother. What did Mrs. Harrison do to break her son's heart? An unexpected legal battle. Rick's world was full of question marks when his own mother, Joanne, took legal action against him over family assets and the ownership of the gold and silver pawn shop. A report by USA Today claimed that Joanne went as far as filing a civil lawsuit in Nevada State Court. It's not so pretty to be sued by one's own mother over family property, but it happened to Rick. In the lawsuit, Rick, the shop, Harrison Properties, Jorick Properties, and others were named as defendants. Needless to say, the money issues strained their relationship. His mother blatantly accused him of breaking a long-standing agreement. She pointed out that she was married to Richard the Old Man Harrison for almost 58 years. When he passed away, she inherited his 49% share of the shop. To fuel the fire, Joanne said that in the early 2000s, when she was in the hospital and had just come out of a coma, Rick visited her and had her sign papers, unknowingly giving up her own 51% ownership of the pawn shop. She claimed that even though she wasn't fully aware of what she was signing at the time, she reposed trust in her son and signed anyway. It goes without saying that this situation had Rick in a very bad spot. His fans, who admired him as a family man, were completely dumbfounded by the claims made by the same family he was supposed to uphold. His mother went on to say that she hadn't received proper records about more than $500,000 in cash and silver that she believed her husband had before he died. She also mentioned that Rick stopped her payments of $225,000 that her husband used to send. Rick responded to these claims by denying. He said all the accusations labeled against him were not true, and he believed that as a matter of fact, his 81-year-old mother was being influenced by others. He further shared that he only found out about the restraining order from news reports. He said he tried to contact her many times in the past months, but hadn't been able to reach her. Rick added that one of the companies being. Either way, family struggle went on until 2024, when Rick Harrison faced his greatest loss with his son. But what happened to his son? And which of the three? Adam's battle with addiction. Unlike his older brother, Corey Harrison, who became a central figure on Pawn Stars from its debut, Adam Harrison chose to stay largely out of the spotlight. It was this decision to maintain privacy that would later make his struggles less visible to the public. While he was not featured on Pawn Stars as a cast member, he did work at the pawn shop and helped with the family business in his early years before stepping away to pursue his own path. Adam's decision to live outside the reality television spotlight meant that most Pawn Stars viewers didn't even know he existed until news that shocked the world came up. There had been speculation about Adam's connection to substance abuse, but it wasn't until a March 2020 interview on In Depth with Graham Bensinger that Rick finally opened up about the 2-decade struggle he'd endured. According to Rick, Adam would enter rehabilitation, work the program, show improvement, and convince everyone, including himself, that this time was different. Then something would suddenly trigger a relapse. They were sure what caused it, but whatever the cause, Adam would fall back into drug use, and the cycle would begin again. For Rick, each relapse must have felt like a personal failure. As a father, one would want to protect their children from harm. They would want to fix their problems. Rick, as a man who negotiated complex deals daily, could spot a fake from across the room. Yet all his skills, all his determination, couldn't break the cycle of his son's addiction. To make matters worse, Adams went from other substances to fentanyl. It was the most dangerous escalation possible. 2 milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal, depending on a person's body size. Either way, Adam continued indulging in these hard substances. The last time Adam was last seen was on January 17, 2024. He had been living in a guest house on a property in Las Vegas, separate from the main residence. A woman renting the main house became concerned when Adam didn't answer the door after she knocked multiple times over the course of 2 days. She reportedly found a message from Adam on Facebook saying he was sick and would be quarantined, a message that seemed reasonable on its face, but would later take on tragic significance. 2 days later, the woman's concern escalated to the point where she contacted the landlord, explaining that Adam had been unresponsive for too long. The landlord entered the guest house and found the 39-year-old Adam unresponsive in bed. The Las Vegas Metro Police Department responded to the scene and discovered evidence of drug use. Police reportedly found vials of a substance next to the mattress, in addition to foil with an unknown pill, lighters, and narcotic paraphernalia straws. The scene told a story that investigators and the Harrison family had feared for years. Adam had overdosed. TMZ broke the news, reporting that Rick Harrison's son, Adam, had died from a fatal overdose. A representative for the Pawn Stars reality star confirmed that the family had only just found out that day. The Harrison family released a brief statement through Representative Laura Herlovich, saying the family was extremely saddened by the death of Adam and asked for privacy as they grieved his loss. Rick shared a photo of himself and Adam on Instagram, writing that Adam would always be in his heart and that he loved him. The simple, heartbroken message revealed a father's grief in just a few words. Days later, Rick provided more details to the New York Post, confirming what investigators suspected. He confirmed that Adam died from a fentanyl overdose. But Rick had barely put himself together before another devastating news hit him. What happened this time? And how much suffering did it bring? The passing of Joanne Harrison. As Rick was recovering from the passing of his second son, his mother, Joanne Harrison, passed away at the age of 85 in a Las Vegas hospital. The news came as a heavy blow to the Pawn Stars figure. Rick had only recently paid tribute to Adam, and now the devastating news of his mother's passing hit him with the force of a storm. Laura Herlovich, Rick's longtime representative, reported that his mother passed on November 5 in Las Vegas. Herlovich shared the news with TMZ, confirming the loss publicly and expressing that the family is deeply saddened. As of now, Rick has not personally released a statement about his mother's passing, which many fans understand as a sign of a man overwhelmed by back-to-back grief. Fans rushed to social media to send condolences. Under TMZ's report, messages poured in. "My condolences are with Rick and his family," one fan wrote. Another added, "Oh, that's so sad. May she rest in peace." Many followers of Pawn Stars have watched Rick's professional and personal journey for years, and the outpouring reflects the connection viewers feel to his family. The heartbreaking news arrived only a few months after Rick experienced a moment of joy. Rick married 4 times, and all 4 didn't work. Earlier in the year, he had announced his engagement. At 60 years old, Rick shared that he proposed using a ring from his own gold and silver pawn shop, making the gesture even more meaningful. Photos showed him down on one knee during the proposal, which he posted with the caption, "She said yes." His fiancée, Angie Polushkin, is a 42-year-old nurse from Las Vegas. Although the age difference drew some online comments, supporters celebrated the couple's happiness. Parade magazine later confirmed that Polushkin will be Rick's 5th wife. Despite the joy of his engagement, Rick now faces another wave of grief. The loss of his mother marks yet another difficult chapter in a period filled with personal hardship. Fans continue to offer support, hoping he finds strength as he navigates this challenging time. Aside from the passing of his mother, one can say that Rick's personal life is also taking a positive turn after 4 failed marriages. He is now dating Angie Pushkin, a nurse from Las Vegas. His representative confirmed their relationship to People. And Rick said Angie and he met 6 months ago. She is a nurse in Las Vegas, and they had been in Europe for the past couple of weeks, celebrating her birthday. The 60-year-old shared photos of their trip, including a fancy night out in Paris, showing their growing relationship. Angie isn't the mother of Rick's children and is much younger than him, but they seem happy together. It seems Rick is finding joy in these new experiences, even after facing tough times. It goes without saying that Rick has dealt with many hardships over the years. He has faced legal battles, business problems, personal losses, and broken marriages. Losing his son Adam was especially hard, and it will take time for him to heal from that tragedy. Besides running his pawn shop and being on TV, Rick has also shown interest in politics. In 2020, he supported Donald Trump for president and endorsed Daniel Rodimer for Nevada's 3rd congressional district. Rick even thought about running for governor of Nevada in 2022. He mentioned he might run for the U.S. Senate in 2024, saying a lot of people in the party have talked to him about it, and he was considering it. But obviously, he decided against it. Today, Rick no longer works full-time at the pawn shop. He is now involved with Pawn Stars Do America, which is in its 2nd season. Judging by his current pace, it seems he is moving toward semi-retirement, taking life a little slower. He now dedicates more time to his fiancée and family, focusing on enjoying life while balancing work. This new chapter shows that even after enduring significant challenges, Rick is determined to find happiness and make the most of his days. With his engagement to Angie and the smooth running of his business, it appears he is navigating life quite well. Do you think Rick's life is better after all the challenges? And will his new relationship stand the test of time? Share your thoughts with us in the comment section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.